Hello, everyone, to hashtag Hits for Life Wrestling Podcast, episode 198. We are two episodes away from the 100, the 200 episode. What the fuck am I saying? So let's go down the room. I'm your host, Mr. Team Bring It. Introduce yourself.
He look like he's frozen.
All right. Introduce yourself, sir. Introduce yourself.
Hey, can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
He's been muted.
Is he?
He's been muted.
No, he's not muted.
Waiting on you.
You.
Mr. Garland.
Oh, he looks lost.
Okay.
He's lost.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Technical difficulties. Okay, next person, Mr. All-Star. How you doing? Hold on.
You messed it up.
Oh my God. Okay.
This is not usually his job to do.
Right. It's really not my job. All right.
What's
Mr.
up?
All-Star, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me again. Heels for Life. I am Jared All-Star, the bearded baby. Wait, I can't get the bearded
There you
baby face. So happy to, as my bro the enforcer would call me, the street poet. As Chris would call me, his new pastor one day. He's gonna join my church. He's gonna be a part of my congregation. Reese, what's goody?
Testify.
I can't wait till Steve come back on and get his service together. Let's have some fun tonight. Chris Jericho's a 9 out of 10, by the way. I'm gonna say it now. 9 out of 10.
I like that.
All right, next person.
What's going on? I'm your enforcer. Glad to be back on the show. Got a good topic to talk about. One of my favorite wrestlers, Chris Jericho. I'm gonna agree with the baby face. I'm gonna say 9 out of 10, 9.5, definitely. So let's enjoy the show.
All right. Mr. Reese.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Rockin' Reese, aka the Junior Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla.
He has something
And I
great
am
tonight.
pumped up. Yeah. And I'm ready to break down the gift of Jericho. Drink it in, man. Yeah, I'm getting them all out the way early.
All right. Mr. Man.
And I
Mr.
am
Red Flags.
DJ Red Flags, a hill you love to hate. I'm going to enjoy the show as I'm watching the game right now. Let's go,
right.
Yankees.
They better win.
I'm sweating over here, dude.
Why are you sweating bullets?
Dude,
Because
Why
you
you
see how they
doing
lost yesterday?
We might
No,
be
I
eliminated.
don't.
we should
I'm
not
not
be
following
in
that
this position
bullshit.
right now.
Wait. First of all, you got too many New Yorkers on here to be talking like that about the Yankees. Second of all,
What the fuck that mean? What does that mean?
You will virtually get your ass on real quick.
That is
I'm
that
not
is
worried
true.
about that. I'm definitely not worried about that. But yes, let's talk about our sponsors or affiliates or whatever. So we have a new affiliate called Dubba Energy Drinks. Where if you do decide to get your energy drinks, it's basically like powder based or whatever. It's not like one of them Stacker 2, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, if you decide to get one, you can actually put the code in hashtag Hills for Life and get 10% off. Also, next week, we're going to have two females on here. We're actually going to have the Battle of the Sexes. Help me out, Mr. Red Flags. Her name's Suzette, right?
Yeah.
Suzette
Suzette.
and Victoria,
Mhm.
and Janelle from the Jobber Tier podcast. So they will be on here next week. So great.
Battle
things with
Sexes. Says your team Bridget and DJ Red Flags against the ladies. It's gonna be a good one.
that. Yes. So tonight, everybody, yes, we will be talking about Chris Jericho, the Multiverse of Jericho. We're going to go all the way back to his career, all the way to now. So if we do run out of time, we will do a part 2. in a later podcast, but we're going to try to get to everything tonight. If you guys have anything that you want to bring on the podcast, just leave a comment, share, like, all the good shit. So, Mr. Reese, I'm gonna have you start off first, kick us off. And once we get past one era, we'll go to the next. So first, we'll start with him, where he trained from. Then we'll go to New Japan. We'll go to ECW, WCW, and all that good shit. So, all right, I'll leave the floor to you.
All right. The career of Chris Jericho started all the way back in 1990. Of course, we all know Chris was one of many wrestlers trained in the famous Heart Dungeon. And that's fact, he would meet another future wrestling superstar, Lance Storm, there. And ironically enough, in Chris's debut match, he would actually wrestle a time limit draw against Storm in the city of Ponoka, Alberta, Canada, at the Moose Hall. Just a few days later, they would make up a tag team called Sudden Impact, who would wrestle all throughout the Canadian area. And then after that, they would head over to their first tour of Japan, where they would wrestle for FMW, which is Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling. And after that, he would meet Refugee, who was also another Stu Hart graduate. In the winter of 1992, Chris would head down to Mexico, where he would become Corazon de Leon, or Lionheart, which was actually given to him in a fan-voted contest. And Chris would wind up having a successful career in Mexico. Eventually capturing the NWA World's Middleweight Championship, which he would hold for nearly a year. In between that time, Chris will also venture over to Germany for Catch Wrestling Association, and he will also reunite with Storm in Smoky Mountain Wrestling as a tag team known as the Thrill Seekers. And then finally, before that, he would lose the middleweight championship to Ultimo Dragon, wrestling for the wrestling and romance profession, which later became War, just before he would venture over to New Japan.
Cool. So I do have a question for you, Mr. Reese. So was this the part where Jericho started like showing his creativity, or was this like later down the line?
I would say it'd be a little bit later, because the first couple of years, like I said, Chris was really just learning how to work. I would say like maybe the tail end of his run down in Mexico, and when he was, I don't know which voyage he was, when he started going to Japan a little more frequently. That's when he was starting the basis of developing into the Lionheart and Ultimate characters that we would later see for Jericho. But this was definitely something where he was just getting his feet wet at first, and then like the character development would come a little bit later.
Cool.
Can I ask a question? I want to play Mr. Team Bring It for a second. I want to ask a question. Thank you.
Oh my god.
Hey guys, this is so cool. I'm like asking a question. So from the very beginning, he was a Stu Dungeon graduate trainee. Who was the best wrestler to come out of Stu's Dungeon?
Really?
You got the really
I would have to say Bret Hart, honestly, bro. Like,
well, that's the best wrestling guy is nutsack. That's the best wrestling guy is nutsack.
You give him all that.
I mean, you have some pretty good choices. You got Benoit, you got Jericho, you got
Owen had his life Jordan. So I mean,
well, are we asking? Are we asking who's the best wrestler that's not a Hart? because
That's a better question.
Yeah.
Right, because if you're a Hart, you are genetically better to know how to wrestle. You know, so who's the like? It's a
Oh,
you talking
okay,
about,
yeah, we'll do that. The best wrestler that's not a Hart
Hart.
that left Stu's dungeon.
and that's still a hard question because that's over 30
Oh, it's
years.
very hard. I want to say the answer that we all really want to say.
Which is,
Chris Benoit.
Yeah, Christian Law.
Yeah.
I mean, if we have to come down to it, yes, I would have to say Chris Benoit as well.
Yeah, I was about to say, like,
Yeah, most definitely.
I would have to go to a mirror on this one because I'd have to go to Benoit's predecessor, the Dynamite Kid, because
That's
Yeah.
I don't even know
That
who the Dynamite. Yeah,
That's
it was the other
Reese-
half of the British Bulldogs
Reese-
that people don't remember.
Reese, that's an iffy because they both was trained in England
They're from
first.
there. Yeah,
So
but it was like but then again, because like I said, Benoit and Dynamite were pretty much mirrors, even though
yeah,
like Dynamite was a little older or whatever. But
he was a clone.
mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but I was
Alright,
like, yeah, definitely Benoit. I would put.
I can't believe no one said Steve Blackman. That was disrespectful.
What?
Really? Oh my goodness!
Did he say Steve Blackman?
Lethal
Yeah.
Weapon.
Oh my! Oh no!
Mute that man.
No.
Mute that
We are
man.
not going to. We are not going to talk about jobbers on this podcast right now.
Wow.
Yeah, he was-
We are not.
Steve had a
going to do
push.
that.
Steve
Hey,
Blackman
hey.
had a push.
He did
A
have
push in the
hard
hardcore division, yeah.
Steve Blackman is legit. I ain't messing with Steve Blackman though.
Get that man.
Legit.
Get that man.
Hey,
I mean,
hey, Steve Blackman had a good ass theme song though. You know, hear that? You know,
That's
man, that
fucking
shit
a little
sounded
bit.
like club music, bro.
It was.
Yo, I felt I was Papa Molly and
Moving on.
it's that.
But let's continue. Keep going, Reese.
All right. Let's see. Then after this, Chris Jericho would then head over to Japan, where he would compete in the War International Junior Heavyweight title, losing the title to Gato in the finals to crown the inaugural champ. But he would beat Gato in June before losing to Ultimo Dragon again. He would also compete in the Super J Cup, where he would lose in the second round to Wild Pegasus, aka Chris Benoit. Yeah, Jericho and Gato would eventually become the international junior heavyweight tag team champions, defeating Lance Storm and Yuji Tsuruoka before leaving War for a little place that y'all might have heard of called the world's most famous bingo hall on Swanson and Rittner Street in Philadelphia, ECW.
You say ACW?
Yes.
ECW.
ECW. Got
Wait,
you.
Wait, hey, Reese, did we cover the Smoky Mountain territory? Because he was in Smoky Mountain for ECW.
He did read it.
Yeah, I did mention a little bit about
Okay.
him and
Just
Storm
a
being
little
a
bit, okay.
postage. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as
But
you,
trust
you
me,
guys
that
like
part's-
touch up on it. Yeah, as long as you touch up on his background. Yeah, that's all I really care about. You
Right.
know?
All right,
First
tag
of all,
out, Professor. Oh, go ahead. Also,
No, I think it's important to mention how smart Chris Jericho was in the beginning of his career as far as wrestling goes. There was so much more money to be made in Mexico and Japan, and he went and made that money. Like, he's such a business savvy wrestler, and this is from day one. He realized wrestling overseas makes more money than territory wrestling, and he did it wonderfully.
And not only that he actually got his craft better. Like we got Lucha Libre, he got strong style. He went to now to answer Chris' answer earlier. He got his character charisma in a small promotion in Germany, because all they was worried about is drama and stuff like that. They didn't worry about wrestling. They worried about the storyline over there. He got that over there. Actually, I just learned that because I got the DVD. he talked about that.
Okay.
So
I
he
think
got,
say
he got
even Smoky Mountain too. But,
yeah, in Smoky Mountain, he learned how to do promos and vignettes, like how they go to different places and stuff like that. He learned how to do that. So each place he went to, is a small piece of what will become later in his career.
I think as we go through his history, to tag on to what you're saying, we have to think about these people he was connected to. The Jim Cornette at Smoky Mountain, Dave Meltzer is about to be his best friend at Extreme Wrestling. Like he met people that have stayed so pro Jericho for so long, prominent figures in wrestling, that it's kept him who he was the entire time.
Right. Think about we just said New Japan. We said Japan. Period. His former partner is Gato, who's also the booker at New Japan right now, who also opened the door for him to come back to New Japan, which again we're gonna talk about later. You just said Jim Cornette. Let's not forget Paul Heyman, who brought him into ECW, and like we didn't
read that yet. We didn't read that
yet. Yeah, we're gonna stop right there.
You fucking up already, brother.
I'm just saying. Wait. Carry on.
But then again, also like to go on to Tombstone before I'm getting ready to tag out to Antonio for a minute. But
okay.
Yeah. But before I do, let's also remember, look at who we've already mentioned. People who will be career opponents for Jericho, like Ultimate Dragon and Benoit. And then we're gonna have a few more as we go on. So,
Lance Storm.
Lance Storm as well. Joe, ECW's on you, my brother.
Let's see. Like I was gonna say, ECW. He came in to ECW. His first match was against another guy that's in AEW right now, Taz. Taz was around superplex everybody, pretty much breaking their neck. No one touched Taz. The first person to touch Taz was Chris Jericho. Got a great response. Next thing you know, Chris Jericho became the ECW television champion by pinning Pitbull number 2.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, number 2.
Yes.
He held the belt for a good couple of weeks. Lost it in a fatal 4-way match. The winner of that match was Tuco Scorpio. After that, Shane. Excuse me. Thank you, Shane. Tuco Scorpio was in the match. After that, he did a charity event in California where Eazy-E, Eric Bischoff, found him, talked to him, and said, "Hey, why don't you come to WCW?" Ooh. They talked a while.
Hold on, can we pause for a second? Can we pause for WCW? I feel like WCW is a turn. I know ECW is cool, but WCW is a turn. Like,
WCW, when he got there, he was trying to be something he, was trying to be optional. He didn't want to be the cheesy baby face, but he was a good-looking kid. Eric Bischoff said we need that because the direction we're going to next, we need some color, some baby faces that the kids like, because they're on their way to,
I have to tell the Dave Meltzer story about ECW.
Oh, go ahead.
Because Dave Meltzer is the reason why Chris Jericho actually signed to ECW.
Right.
He had tweeted one time, Dave Meltzer, and I thought the story was dope, that the Heyman actually wanted to check out. He was scouting Ultimate Dragon, and somehow when they sent the tape, Chris Jericho was the wrestler that stood out the most. So that's how he ended up on ECW. So that's why Dave Meltzer, like Chris Jericho, not to jump ahead, is the oldest wrestler with the highest ranked match. Like that, his friendships. That's what I'm talking about. Chris Jericho got some like networking talents. Like
he's a hustler, bro.
It's crazy, yeah, for real.
He's a hustler.
Yeah, for real.
And the thing about that is that, like you said, he in that tape, he pretty much was not even the person he was looking at, And that's the thing with Paul Heyman. He looked for something else, and he sees somebody else, he gonna get that person. And remember, back in the day, we didn't have social media. We had magazines and trade collectors, like trade tapers. You trade a tape here and there. So the fact that ECW knew about Chris Jericho was a bonus, and giving out matches at the matches was great. But that also led him out of ECW because, again, that's where Eric Bischoff, and Eric Bischoff was taking a lot of ECW guys at the time, and Chris Jericho fit the mold of what WCW is going for around the cruiserweight division. Yep. Pretty much the guys that's gonna open the show and had the people standing and get them on going. Yeah. And they had probably the best cruiserweight division in the world, close to New Japan.
And although Jericho's beginning didn't get off to a really great start, though.
No, you're talking about in WCW, right?
In WCW, yeah.
Because how about this for your debut matchup? Go ahead,
Oh,
Tio.
I just want to just cut in. So for the people that's coming in, that welcome to our show. Remember to subscribe to our channel #Hills for Life Wrestling Podcast on YouTube. We are talking about Chris Jericho's overall career. So if you guys want to put in anything contributing to his career while we're on the subject, please do in the comments. Tio, you want to go?
Before you go to WCW, look at some of the wrestlers. Just name some of the wrestlers that he wrestled against or legit Hall of Famers. You're talking about Taz, Sabu, RVD, Shane Douglas, and two Coach Scorpio. These guys are known for 1, 2, putting people in hospitals, and 3, elevating a lot of great wrestlers that we know that are in the Hall of Fame or still in wrestling and other toe to toe with a legend as Cactus Jack. Cactus Jack is like hell in a cell. You face Cactus Jack, 2 things are gonna happen. You're gonna get your ass kicked, and 2, you would never be the same. And this started the evolution of a lot of the different sides of Jericho because those matches with Cactus Jack.
All right, you want to now? You gotta also think of this. He went into FMW.
Yep.
FMW was not. It was like the ECW of Japan. Like really, like death matches, exploding cave, ball wire matches, all this stuff. And he went into FMW to wrestle, which also no one don't talk about FMW in that same limelight. It's for the wrestling, and he went over there to wrestle. So it's like you said, it's a lot of Hall of Famers. We talking about this before he got to WCW. He shared the ring with, and also, like All-Star said earlier, the connections he learned from those people. It's like I said, the man's a hustler. I mean, honestly, the dude knows where to go and how to create and reevaluate his career and his character and stuff. And WCW, that's where we learned that he actually has some that charisma. Because, like Reese said, when he started WCW, it did not go so well. Like he was on almost every WCW show they had, and stuff, but they still believed in him. They still wanted to do the cookie cut babyface.
I feel like it didn't go that well for us because we're critical wrestling fans. He was cruiserweight champion in 1 year. 1 year.
Twice in 1 year.
Quite in 1 year.
Yeah, and in fact, twice in just like a couple of months because I think he beat X-Pac who was 6 in NWA. Then he beat
Alex Wright again.
Alex Wright, and he lost that a couple of weeks to Eddie Guerrero in one of the best matches that Fall Brawl had that year. And I still watch that because that was like one of my favorite war games. And the rest of they're not gonna stand there. But Chris Jericho found out that the fans was booing him.
Yep.
And remember, this is around the NWO era, and it's more about NWO. And then we got this. No, we're gonna leave that there because I'll go work into that. He was getting booed. He didn't like it, and he changed his character. He was abusing the ring announcer, ripping his tuxedo. He was whining. He was crying, and he finally just turned heel.
Wait, was this?
But see, I'm glad you brought something up. I'm glad you brought that up because to me, the whole entire he invented a new style of a heel turn. If y'all don't mind me entertaining y'all for a second on that, he invented a new style of heel turn. He invented the style of heel turning where the baby face still think that they're a baby face. Because remember, he would do stuff. He had a match, I think, against Juventud, and he lost or something. And I think he attacked him after the match. Then he's like, I lost my cool. I didn't mean to do that, and I will never. And that's where that was invented. I will never ever do it again. So so he did that for I think 2 or 3 weeks before finally he just went full blown heel. But I feel like he was the one that pioneered that style of turning from babyface to heel because he was still trying in his mind. He thought he was still a babyface, even though the fans and stuff was booing him, and he was doing kind of heelish stuff. He still thought he was a babyface. I felt like he pioneered that style of turning from face to heel.
Yeah.
And I want to touch on something else as well that you mentioned earlier about his earlier days in WCW not being good. It was, to me, I felt like that's a blessing in disguise, because if that wouldn't have happened, then that wouldn't have opened the door for him to turn heel and for to set the stage for what's to come for Chris Jericho.
Well, you got also, like I said earlier, you got to understand when he came in, NWO was the thing of the WCW. That was their saving grace. NWO and the cruiserweights giving out banging matches, right? Rey Mysterio, Dean Malenko, the list goes on and on. But when he turned heel, it opened the door. He never talked on the mic that much. And they only gave him like 20, 30 seconds to do whatever. And he'll make up some of the stupidest shit just to get you to boo him. And he'll say something offlandish for 30 seconds before he comes to the ring and have a match. And it got him over. Monday Night Jericho was made on the signs.
Jerichoholics
happening in WCW. And yes. Oh. So that's why he had Rufus as his personal security guard making fun of Goldberg. Every little thing he was doing was getting over.
That crazy ass hairstyle.
Right. It was one night where he was, and me and Reese make fun of this shit all the time. On night
the original list of Jericho.
Right. The original list of Jericho. He was going against Dean Malenko. There you go.
Yep.
Dean Malenko, who was the man with 1,000 holes. This man had one of the damn fax papers, and all right, I'll show my age here. One of the fax machine papers that had print out the little names and shit. He said armbar like 5 times, and they went to commercial. Now the thing nobody don't know is, unless you listen to his stories, he was calling out whoever city they was at. Their sports team sucks. All this that sucks. Blah blah. So when they came back from commercial, they was hella mad. He acted like he was at 400 move and shit, saying the armbar again. He was right. He was ahead of his time with making his character over.
The part we can't glaze over was Dean Malenko. I'm sorry, you said Dean Malenko, and we glazed over it like it's not one of the best feuds.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I was about to say that. We got to talk about that.
He was tying into that one.
I was tying into that one, but all right, let's get to it. So this one actually made his character even more creative, because we got not just Chris Jericho with the 2004 moves, but we also got conspiracy Chris Jericho. He went deep on Dean Malenko, and that feud was probably one of the best feuds of the year in wrestling. Not just
it's one of the greatest in WCW history. Let's keep it a buck.
No.
I said all wrestling.
No. Not just in WCW, in wrestling that year.
Wrestling history.
Because that man went after his father. He went after his family. He made Dean Malenko quit and go home.
He dodged Dean Malenko for months. He would not wrestle Dean Malenko for months.
And let's also remember something else about that, though. Let's remember another hidden Chris Jericho gem we got. We got ring announcer Chris Jericho. To tie into where Antonio and All-Star were both going with this one. Because at Slamboree, there was a Cruiserweight Battle Royal to determine the number one contender for Jericho that would wrestle immediately after that match. Now, a luchador that we thought was Ciclope would wind up winning, but Chris Jericho would be in for a little surprise.
Can we tell him how he won, though? Because it was still funny that you had Juventud Guerrero and you had Ciclope, I think that's his name, right?
Yeah.
And he looked
was that the orange and black outfit?
Right. He looked at him, and who looked down for a minute and said, "I'm out," and just eliminated himself. Chris Jericho came in I don't know who this guy is, but blah. He turned around, Dean Malenko took off that mask, and I swear you could think Chris Jericho shit himself when he saw Dean Malenko.
The pop was crazy. One of the loudest pops in WCW history was that moment.
Not only the loudest pop in WCW history, but the moment. It was like one of the biggest moments, especially for the Cruiserweight division. Like I said, was probably only thing that was overshadowing the Cruiserweight division was the NWO and Sting.
Dean Malenko is top 5 underrated wrestlers ever.
Top 5?
And to me, when people bring up the fact that they say that Dean Malenko didn't have any charisma, he didn't have any feelings and all that stuff, You
Yes.
always got to go back to the feud with Chris Jericho
Yes.
because Chris Jericho was the first one that made him show that he had feelings, made him show that he can actually talk on the mic. He brought out the best in Dean Malenko, not only from an in-ring standpoint, but from a personality
From a
standpoint.
character development.
Remember this.
Exactly.
Remember this. Remember this. Dean Malenko was called the Iceman.
Yep.
No feelings, no nothing. He was the Iceman. They could call him the man
No-
without hope, but that
no
Iceman persona was his true character.
He was like the poker. He was like
Right,
a poker face.
poker face and
wrestler.
all. He win, he don't smile. He lose, he don't do nothing. He just come out, beat your ass, and go back. Win belts, go back. Chris Jericho found his weak point, which was his family, his father, all that. Remember, Chris Jericho
And his
also
wrestling
trained-
ability.
True.
He
Yeah,
was
but-
clowning his wrestling a lot.
But Chris Jericho, we didn't mention this. Chris Jericho also trained under the Malenko family.
That's right.
So he knew the Malenko family too. And he got into it. And when I didn't mention this one, when Mean Gene laid it in on Dean Malenko after he lost to Chris Jericho. He said, "You got a losing record. You've been losing in 5 or 6 straight pay-per-views." And that's the first time we saw emotion from Dean Malenko to the point he said, "I quit." He said, "I quit." But when he came back,
Gene let him have it. Gene
Right.
went in on him. He's like, you wrestling like a bum. He's like, you've been losing. He's like, what is going on with you? He's like, you're not like Gene did not hold back any punches.
right.
Well,
I
he did
think-
apologize.
I
when he
think
came
Tony
back,
and them was even legit shocked on commentary because Gene
Yeah.
went in on him.
Gene dropped so much freaking bombs on him. I thought, you know what, that when he quit, I thought he legitimately quit. But it was a good storyline to what we was talking about later. But this also created another character for Chris Jericho, which was called Conspiracy Jericho.
Yep.
Every time he lost the cruiserweight title, he goes to that damn rule book and said, "Well, this is not the rule how I'm supposed to lose the belt," and went to Washington to the Hall of Records to say this is in the rule book that I'm going to lose the belt like this. He was not in the Battle Royal, blah blah. And Dean Malenko being the man he is, like, here, take the belt back, put it up for grabs. Me and you wrestle the winner get the belt. Another way he
Like
did
Tony
conspiracy.
dubbed him the king of all loopholes. Like Tony
All
used to kill me
loopholes.
on commentary back in the day because
Yeah,
Tony kind of helped sold the fact that people can't stand Chris Jericho. Him and Mike Tenay were hilarious anytime Jericho came out, and they was like, "Oh, here comes the king of all loopholes again, finding another way to get over on somebody."
Hey,
And
Will,
yeah, that conspiracy.
would you say Chris Jericho was MJF before MJF?
Yes,
Yeah.
Whoa.
Very much so.
He really
Yes.
Whoa.
No. Hey, Arsenal, when I say that, you know how Tony Schiavone do not like MJF at all. At all. He did not like Chris Jericho the same way.
Oh my gosh.
Dude,
It's the truth. Come on.
Man.
But it is.
True.
And
I began to go ahead, Red Flags. Go ahead.
and the Jericho and that part of Jericho, he set the bar for these heels. You know what I mean? To the point like we thought when Hogan came and we thought, oh man, this is the new version of the heels. When Jericho did that, Jericho had it's like so pissed off, just like how JR used to hate Triple H. Jericho that much.
Mm-hmm.
But he's that damn good that he set that bar. Right here, Jericho went up here. You know what I mean? And that's somebody at that point was what Chris Ray was considered a mid-carder kind of.
Right.
Mid-card.
Right.
He made that division feel like it was
Right.
main eventers.
They had to take him out of cruiserweight because he was getting so over to the point that they even teased a feud between him and Goldberg, which Goldberg took so damn seriously that they ruined that whole push for Chris Jericho.
by the way, that also explains where Ralphus comes in there.
Right.
This show is called Heels for Life, and we are not going to glaze over the fact that we just compared MJF to the GOAT, to Le Champion, Chris Jericho. Because
we were saying he laid the template
We never
for
said he was-
MJF.
I said that the way Chris Jericho was to Tony Schiavone back in Nitro reminds me of how MJF is to Tony Schiavone right now.
Because it's the two. I understand character wise, and of course,
character wise, not wrestling.
I understand. Okay, not as long as we're not saying wrestling.
No. I will listen.
Chris Jericho and MJF are so.
Yeah, I am not committing podcast suicide on myself by saying that.
Yeah, about to say Dark Ken ain't on this show. Ain't nobody committing suicide today.
Hell to the no. You're not doing that to me.
There's also one other thing we got to mention about Jericho too. That we forget about. That's really crucial to his heel success. Let's not forget Jericho was also the luchador mask remover.
Yes, he took
I believe. Moving to Guerrera, a couple others that I believe wanted to be Anos as well.
Like even though he didn't take Rey Mysterio's mask, he took his knee.
Yeah, he took his knee. Yes, sir.
He took his knee.
Oh, like wow. Took his knee like his t-shirts.
Chris Jericho took. Like if you think about it, Chris Jericho's WCW career. Let's break down what he took. He took Dean Malenko's self-respect and manhood. He took Hoovie's mask. He took Psychosis mask, right? He took Villano. He took one of the Villano's mask. He took Rey Mysterio's knee. Oh, and he put Perry Saturn in a dress. Can't forget that either.
Yeah,
we're coming to that one later. We're coming to that one later.
Well,
let's not forget he also took a Chavo Guerrero's spot and became the new TV champion. So.
Hold on. Yes, because he took Booker T's title by beating Stevie Ray.
Thank you. I'll go there. Yeah. Stevie Ray robbed Booker T of his TV title. Chris Jericho, no, this is serious. He robbed him because Booker T did not lose the belt, but contract Booker T signed is that Stevie Ray can defend the title for him in his absence. Chris Jericho took Chavo's spot and beat him and became the new television champion. Again, and which led up to I was talking about earlier, which led to the push that he's supposed to get against Bill Goldberg. He was making fun of Bill Goldberg. He was calling him out. If Bill Goldberg didn't come out, he said, "I beat him." It's like the old school thing. I beat him. He didn't show up. He was like 3-0 against Goldberg. Goldberg took it personal. He took it like it was serious and said, "I hope you had fun," which started their off-screen feud, and we all know about that, right? So after they did a thing, they had nothing for Chris Jericho. If you notice, after that, he lost the TV title, and he was on a losing streak. Like every time you saw him, he was on a losing streak.
Let me ask a question. So was this in '97 when he won the TV, or '98?
It was 90. It was 98.
So the year before, we skipped over Jushin Liger. We act like he didn't even put a mask on.
No. Jushin Liger, him and Jushin Liger rivalry, that is way before. That's like when he had
that was like early 90s.
Yeah, we had the Liger mask.
He didn't go back out there in 90. I know. Go back out there.
No.
In WCW.
No, they didn't touch each other in WCW.
Okay.
They didn't touch each other in WCW. But I know what you're talking about because that one we couldn't get rid of detailing because it was like a one-time deal when he did the Dark Lighter Reese or and he had a fucked up hairdo and they said that was the worst match they ever did and stuff like that. So
it was like Edge in a luchador mask.
Yeah, it was all over the place. I don't understand. right. So but in WCW he was losing and he's getting sick of the place. They had nothing for him.
And they kept squashing him left and right.
Yeah, they kept squashing. I think the last squash was against Scott Steiner at the spring break thing they used to do. And he was missing. But all of a sudden, we go to the other channel. We see that little clock going. And who's the Millennium Man? And
hold on, but once again.
Stop right there.
Yeah, once again, we're going. It's a turn. Quick
What we missing?
Yeah. But actually, Stephanie kind of brought it up. Go ahead.
Did Bill Goldberg ruin WCW? Are we not just placing the blame
No.
on the fact what they did with Bill Goldberg?
No, we're not doing that. But what Bill Goldberg did was ruin a push for somebody else getting over by himself. Chris Jericho was not supposed to be over at all. Not no cruiserweight getting over in the heavyweight world. He was
Did you enjoy watching Bill Goldberg win all those matches with the same 2 moves?
Well,
In the beginning, it was fun.
No, we did not.
Thank you, Red Flags. In the beginning, it was cool. Eventually, Bill Goldberg was annoying. That whole process was horrible.
Oh, especially because they kept jumping up the numbers.
Let me break this down for the Bill Goldberg thing. When Bill Goldberg versus William Regal match, that was the end of Goldberg to me. When you face Will Regal, he pretty much exposed Goldberg like this ain't the monster that y'all really think he is. That was the end of Goldberg. That should have been the end of Goldberg right there. But they kept it limited. They kept him limited. They hid it.
All right.
One spear. No, you come out, you snort some smoke, you kick the screen, you come out, you do one move, you spear, jackhammer, get the fuck out. That's it. And he did it for 100 some odd matches.
3 moves.
Super kick, yeah. Remember the super kick?
The super kick is what in Bret Hart a year later.
Yeah, but there is something Steph knew to bring up to finish off Jericho's career was, of course, his feud with Perry Saturn, and of course, I think Sold Out, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, Jericho won a match, and then of course he forced Saturn to wrestle in a dress for a few.
Well, wasn't that the television title match?
No, it was after Jericho lost the TV title.
Okay.
Because you got to remember, he was also feuding, like Perry Saturn had a mini feud with the referee. The referee and Perry Saturn, the referee that Jericho was conspiring with to put Perry Saturn in the dress was the referee that refereed Perry Saturn's first match. So he had a beef with Perry Saturn. Wow. So Chris Jericho used the ref to put Perry Saturn in the dress. And I think it was a stipulation where all Perry had to do was, there's several matches where all Perry had to do was beat Jericho to get the dress off, but the referee kept screwing him. Then it got to a point where Perry Saturn accepted wearing the dress.
And he made it look darker, right? Because I remember him and Raven became tag team champions.
Yeah, because he was still wearing it then.
Yeah.
He came out with the black lipstick on, had the contacts in his eyes, had the piercings and stuff like that.
You see, but this is why this man is the GOAT. He was only in WCW for 3 years. 3 years. He was only there for 3 years. And we talk about him like he has a decade of work in a company he worked in for 3 years.
But see, that's just that tells you right there. In 3 years, in 3 years, that man went from a cookie cut baby face to the Ayatollah of rock and roller. Like, honestly, all these catchphrases that we know all started in WCW and they got over. And to this day, I understand how WCW never market any of those catchphrases or made shirts out of them.
They didn't see him as a top guy. They didn't see him as a top guy.
Right.
Hell,
and
he's a mid-card guy. You could have still
had
some value in it.
Oh.
I think that was the main issue that I had with Chris Jericho in WCW, and that's the reason why we're doing this podcast, because Chris Jericho, it started in WCW about the not appreciating Chris Jericho talents and Eric Bischoff was worrying about the NWO making him money, and he's not worrying about the other ones. That's why Chris Jericho got away. And I feel that Eric Bischoff regrets that to this day.
But
I'll even go deeper with that one.
I always say this. That about Chris Jericho was one of the first people to leave. I think between him and Big Show was the first people to leave that Titanic before it sank.
Yep.
And not to say when they left it was easy. Because you're going to another place where you was trying to take them out of business. So, but one thing they did know at that time is that they had a star here.
Right.
You just gotta find a way to, put it on the screen. We know we have something here because they came here.
Jericho tells the story. He didn't even realize. Eric Bischoff said he didn't even realize Chris Jericho's contract was over when it was over.
Yeah,
that's how much he wasn't. That's how much he wasn't paying him any attention. Like,
let's do this real quick. That y'all, of course, if y'all remember, the tail end of WCW, they were kind of doing the AOL America Online kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, Chris Jericho's last appearance on WCW television was on one of those AOL. Actually, at the Great American Bash. That was his last television appearance. Yeah.
Right.
And yeah,
it's crazy that that was his last appearance, but it also set up his next chapter in his wrestling life.
Oh, you mean a pay cut to leave WCW to go to WWF?
Yeah.
He took
I mean-
a massive pay cut.
I mean, honestly, if you think about it, it's a pay cut, but at the same time, when he got there, though, he got his money's worth, and with interest.
Well, that's because the first thing he did was secure his name. And that's why a lot
yeah.
of these wrestlers need to really pay attention. I'm glad Chris did this for Chris Jericho because he does deserve his flowers. Need to really pay attention to how Chris Jericho moved. He knew that WWF was a corporation. People like to pretend like they don't know what WWF is as a product, but they've been what it's been since the beginning. He knew what it was, so he literally licensed his name before signing the contract. He knew that the smartest thing for him was to secure his name. And that is so smart.
But think about this: the history of WWF. Anybody that came from NWA or WCW, they go and change their name, or do some type of stupid gimmick on their name. It don't matter who you is. Dusty Rhodes was the Polka Dot Man. Barry Windham was Striker or whatever the fuck he was. Or black, black or whatever. It's Chris. Like we said earlier, Chris Jericho is a hustler, man, and he know. If I go over there, they're gonna change me to something else that I'm not gonna like it. I'm Chris Jericho. All he had to do was prove himself. And again, it was not easy when he started. Yeah, you had the greatest debut ever. Are we gonna talk about that now? Wait. Let me
it right now. Let's talk about it right now.
Okay, right now? Okay.
We're actually
there.
there.
We go.
So we're good.
Okay, one of the greatest debuts of all time.
No, you said ever. Don't.
Okay. All right, fuck that, because we still
All time
talking about
ever. What's the
Okay, hold on. Ever, free, because we still talking about it. Ever.
So we're in the Y2J era.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
The build is insane. Not just because of him jumping ship. It was because we were at in the world. We were so freaked out about all of our electronics shutting down, the computers are going to blow at night. We were so freaked out about this. So when they were flashing, like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what's this? What's this? And then we was doing a little promo, and then when the shit, and they look on Rock's face, like, at that time, Rock was what? At his heel?
He was at his peak.
Yeah.
He was at his peak. Yeah.
He was at his peak. So then, it don't happen. Everybody, I remember that night. I was at the edge of my seat like this. Here it goes. And then everything. And then when the time trying happened, I was wait, and that when those words flat through Jericho, I know it's bedtime. So I had to be quiet. I popped like a teenage girl going to see Justin Bieber for the first time during his baby era. I got in trouble.
Yes, folks,
I
you literally heard that on hashtag.
I got my ass whooped the next. Had to go to work. I got my ass beat as soon as he woke up because I kept him up with my screaming. I would never forget that.
I agree. I agree. But do you know the first debut that gave me that feeling? You know the first time I popped and said, "Who is this?"
I remember. I remember.
His name is
my first podcast.
Hilarious. His name is the Big Red Machine, Kane. Yep. Kane has arguably the best debut of all. Like, how do we never talk about that? Like, are we serious right now? Somebody coming out and ripping off a whole
I just want to just jump in. Like, number one, Chris Jericho's his pop was off the fucking charts, and it was in Chicago. Yeah. Like, everybody yelled, everyone yelled. I mean, don't get me wrong. Kane debut was the shit. Chris Jericho was He was a new Millennium Man. Like, come on. I'm
And
thinking
not
like
to mention,
the
do you know how much balls you have to do to interrupt the Rock of all
My
people?
God, man.
Listen,
Come on.
that is his story.
Although-
Like no
although
one
to
at
All
that
Stars
time
point,
interrupt.
Although the All-Stars
Come
point,
on,
though,
Reese.
yeah, interrupting the Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell match.
What are we
Yeah.
talking
No,
about right now?
no.
Balls, too.
No. Let me put this side by side for you. You got the first ever Hell in a Cell match, correct?
Yes.
You got Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. We've been hearing for weeks, for months, that your brother's alive. All blah. I get that. And then boom. You know what makes it more memorable? And somebody gonna get me for this if they see this. But Vince McMahon saying, "That's gotta be Kane. That's gotta be him." And then you got Kane coming out breaking the Kane. I get where you going with it. I do. I get because
Do you?
Let's
Do
not
you
forget
really?
Paul Bearer.
Yes. Hold on. You talking to somebody? I'm a big Undertaker fan. I still talk about that shit too. But the reason why I say Chris Jericho is not the greatest debut especially in WWE or WF because of this fact. This guy came from the enemy. The enemy, the people that's trying to take them out of business, WCW. And it's not Hulk Hogan, it's not Scott Hall, it's not Kevin Nash, it's not the guys that's from the end of it's the cruiserweight guy with the bling bling shirt. And then he interrupted their top guy on the mic, The Rock, who's on the mic while he was talking, got interrupted. And went word for word with The Rock.
He needs
of
to thank
course, Rock
Dwayne.
had the last word.
He needs to thank Dwayne for the rub. Thanks for the rub, Rob.
Thanks for the rub, because we're still talking about that 30 years, and it happened in Chicago. Where Kane debuted happened in Missouri.
So the Big Red Machine.
Hold on, we ain't gonna disrespect St. Louis like that.
I'm going to disrespect it because one, it was in the In Your House pay-per-view where it was not sold out. They was not sold out. The pop if it was sold out, that pop would have been extra loud. I'm gonna give All-Star that credit. If they was sold out, that pop would have been equal to Y2J's pop.
It's the crowd. You're telling
That's
me the
true.
crowd
That crowd
affects the difference,
right? That crowd is exactly. Me and you always agree on that
They
one.
yelled.
But Chris Jericho in Chicago, in one of the biggest markets in wrestling at that time, especially in the late '90s, New York, Chicago, LA, and Florida, and Texas. In Texas was the hot spot of wrestling. You got a big, huge show.
Because you compare two different eras. You compare Kane debuted at the end of the new generation era. Because this is months before the Attitude Era began.
Yeah.
Jericho debuted during the fucking height of the Attitude Era.
I'm not, and Arsa, again, I'm
the
not. The
storyline itself is the greatest storyline in wrestling history.
Yes.
Kane and Undertaker's story is the greatest storyline in wrestling history.
Yes.
I'm not arguing that. I'm not debating that. I will leave this room.
No, you will not. No, it is. But you said, like you just said, what you just said was this. It was part of the storyline. Chris Jericho just debuted. There was no storyline involved.
All right.
I agree with you on the storyline.
I mean, that might be once again, that might be the greatest storyline of all time. I don't think anyone is disputing that, but we're talking about debuts. We're not talking about storylines. We talk about debuts.
I understand.
Y2J, I'm sorry, had the loudest pop at that time. That's until Triple H came around in 2002. But then, we ain't talking about Triple H.
You also be Midwest biased, but we'll take it.
What that got to do with me being Midwest? It has everything to do with facts. He's just mad.
Chris Jericho got another pop, but I'm gonna bring that for later. He got another loud pop too, but we're gonna bring that for later down his WWE road, because this was when you get a pop like that, you thought that's main event right there, but it wasn't for him. Because we didn't see him for a good couple weeks, and they tried to serve him up to Ken Shamrock.
Yep.
That didn't go nowhere. It didn't really go
Especially
nowhere.
because Shamrock left the company before his matches
Exactly.
happened.
So
Now,
what?
hold on. If we're going to get mad at black men being brought up on the show, we're definitely getting mad at Ken Shamrock being brought up on that show.
There it is.
Technically,
I had to bring him up though.
Shamrock's at least, because at least
I'm
Shamrock
not
was
mad.
supposed to be Jericho's first opponent. But
Yeah, he's supposed to be the first feud, but it ain't go nowhere.
Ken Shamrock felt more legit to you than Steve Blackman, the black belt?
No.
Who, me? No.
No, I'm just asking in general to anyone.
No.
Okay.
No.
No. Not at all. But nice try though.
Yeah. But
that's my point. That's why Ken Shamrock, I put him in the same category as a black man. Like,
okay,
in the same category.
Yeah.
I had to say it because what I was getting to was that what made Chris Jericho at least part of the family, I guess, the WWF, was his feud against China.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And
that was actually very entertaining, by the way.
The first ever co-champions.
Yes. Like really, Chris Jericho said it along. The only belt he really wanted in WWF was the Intercontinental title, because he loved Randy Savage and Steamboat WrestleMania 3 match, right? So he got that, but he had to do it against China, and he said he felt uncomfortable because he never wrestled a woman, but it worked because it made him. It turned him from heel to babyface. Like everybody was doing his catchphrases. Remember when he came out, he used to come out with the mic and the music like softly slow, like go down, and we hear him while he walked to the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And the crowd used to repeat everything, just like we did earlier. Never, all that stuff.
If we're going to talk about it, if we're going to bring that up, we have to talk about Mr. Hughes. We got to talk about.
No, why do we? I want to skip that on purpose.
We got to talk about his black bodyguard. We're not
going to see him there for 2 seconds.
But we're not going to see him praise
Chris
Jericho.
Everybody's bodyguard.
We cannot see him praise Chris Jericho and act like he didn't come out with Mr. Hughes in the first year.
For 2 seconds, that you gonna really count
that? A cup of coffee, my guy. Really?
He was still there.
Hold on. I gave Ralph his flowers. I will give Mr. Hughes his flowers.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying.
Bright ass
for
green
15
shirt.
seconds. Okay.
He came with his bright ass green shirt and his dark shades and did that for a couple minutes.
Nobody don't remember that man.
Shout out to Big Cat. This is African American wrestling. Shout out.
Oh, did you just say?
What's up, Andre?
All right.
So, real quick.
But the thing is,
real quick. I mean, real fast. All-Star Enforcer. Game
5. I had a feeling that was you was gonna say that. But I would say this, like when it comes to Chris Jericho, that. Yeah, with the Intercontinental title. When it came to Chris Jericho and the Intercontinental title, that his dynamic with China was definitely an interesting one, considering they went from enemies then to allies and stuff, and how that when one had to wrestle, that the other one would sometimes try and screw him, but then when it came to when the title wasn't on the line, but then when the title was on the line, they were doing everything they could to help keep it. And
exactly.
That was such a unique storyline in its own right. And then, of course, when Chris got to have sole possession of the title, then he and China were still allies until WrestleMania. Of course, Chris would lose the Intercontinental. Well, actually, he lost it to Kurt Angle at No Way Out. Then, of course, they had that.
He won it 4 times. He won it 4 times in like 2 years.
A
year. So it was, in a
year.
You
know what's crazy though about that? Like he was healed. Yep. When he first got there, he got there in August of '99 and became a face in January 2000. Within that short period, the crowd was just on his side, and it shifted direction because remember, it still was the Rock show. Yep. Triple H was just coming his own. Cactus Jack, Mick Foley, whatever he was at the time, was trying to window out at that time. Stone Cold was gone. Stone Cold was injured, so they had to make other stars. Chris Jericho just jumped right in the damn shark's den and swam to the other side. Like, he was there.
Well, exactly. I think what Chris Jericho mastered during that time was the art of the feud. He had some memorable feuds during that time. I do want to talk about one of those feuds because he, even out his own mouth, he said it's one of his greatest feuds. Now, I want to put a disclaimer out there before I mention this person. If any of y'all feel any type of way about the
You
person
already
I'm about
did
to
this,
bring
bro. Just
up,
say his name.
because you already know where I'm going
We
with
already
this. Y'all
got
know where I'm going with
You
this.
already said this thing. Go ahead, say it.
Yeah. So, Chris Benoit.
Yeah, we said it.
Chris Benoit was one of his greatest, opponents ever.
The Royal Rumble,
And like I said, this is
2001.
not us.
Yes.
Before I say anything, this is not me glorifying Chris Benoit or anything like that. It's just that he's a part of the Jericho story. So
Yeah.
that's the only reason we're bringing him up.
You don't have to apologize for speaking facts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
No,
don't.
don't
We're not talking about his.
don't
We're not talking about his personal life.
Don't apologize. Glorify him as a wrestler. You cannot get for him being for the wrestling aspect of Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit was wrestlers. No, I mean that's where people need to understand that you got to be able to sit there away from the personal.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling wise, a lot of guys against boots.
Yeah.
So
there's also sorry.
Yeah.
Go
Who was going? Reese? Go ahead, Reese.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's actually a funny thing since we're mentioning Benoit. All-Star Antonio, you both mentioned earlier about when Chris left WCW that he was also a catalyst for the Radicals leaving WCW, coming to WWE as well. And if we remember, like I said, WrestleMania with the two-fall triple threat match, Jericho and Benoit beat each other without Kurt Angle being involved in either fall. Of course, Benoit getting the Intercontinental, Jericho getting the European title. But then the very next night, we would get Mamacita officially because China would betray Eddie Guerrero, or China would betray Jericho to join Eddie Guerrero and become the European champ.
Well, guess what? He went from one woman rivalry to another female right after that because all of a sudden it went from China to Stephanie McMahon, and it's like, what the hell? He called her a trash bag hole, and we started him and Triple H first rivalry. And
let's also remember that. I'm glad you brought that up, Tone, because that also made up one of the biggest, almost shocks in WWF history.
Yes.
Because remember on the April 17th edition of Raw, Chris Jericho would pin Triple H to temporarily become the WWF champion.
It never happened.
Yeah, because of course Triple H for him.
But that actually solidified Chris Jericho because that pop, that's what's the pop I was talking about. There's another pop that nobody was really talking about is when he beat Triple H for the WWF title. It didn't count. Penn State went fucking bananas.
Yeah.
Like, we finally got something new here. We got some change and blah, blah.
This is why.
Don't get it wrong. He looked good in that damn belt.
Right.
He had it around his waist. It looked good.
This is why talking about Triple H makes me so upset when we talk about him as a wrestler. As a booker or whatever he is now, he's gold. As a wrestler, this really annoys me, this whole conversation. Because to be honest, it almost buried Chris Jericho. We're like praising Chris for how his stuff he did with Stephanie, but like he won the belt against William Regal in a great match at WrestleMania, and then 4 days later lost it to Triple H. Triple H was also still doing Triple H things that kind of stunted the growth of Chris Jericho. Like I didn't see
it was a lot of political shit, backstage, especially with Triple H, because Triple H did not like Chris Jericho backstage.
I'm going to say this. It was actually,
it took a while.
No. It was actually a long time. A
long time. Yeah. It was about maybe a good 3 years.
That's my point.
When he came back the second time. And remember he used to say, "Save us, Jericho."
Yeah.
And there was a thing where Triple H came to him and said, "What you saving us from?" And all this, like, what? what's the big deal? Like he used to really shit on Chris Jericho a lot, and but from this is from Chris Jericho's point of view. Like, yo, if you don't stand up to him, he won't respect you. And he like, I had to stand up to him. And so he's like, it's a lot of times where they bump heads and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, they know they're both passionate for this business. Mm-hmm. So it took a long time for them to get to really trust each other and understand. But Chris Jericho never backed down. And that's one thing you gotta respect from Chris Jericho. Like, listen, like we said again, this man been in the business. He learned in everywhere he went to know that when he get to WWE, all the stuff he learned from where he was at, you're not gonna just go.
Once again, since we're talking about his business savvy, shout out to Don Callis, another catalyst.
We were gonna get the Don Callis, the recreation.
Another person that helped Chris Jericho get into WWE. Don Callis was the manager. Yeah, Don Callis was the manager for Edge. I forgot his name. He was like some weird vampire or something. Yes. And he was the manager, but he also had some behind the scenes roles. He was working
Hardcastle.
And
he did. Yeah, he did help a lot of the Canadian boys come on, like Christian.
Shout out to Don Callis. That's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna shout him out for later because
we're Suicide Blondes. Yeah.
You know what I'm gonna get to when I get to Don Callis. Like, honestly, one of the biggest matches possible that I didn't think was gonna happen. But we're gonna talk about that right now. But now we're gonna stay with WWE. Like he was there, and who in here honestly thought that we were gonna say Chris Jericho, undisputed champion?
Right.
None of us.
Because if you think about it, it rightfully should have happened. Because let's think about it. Like, looking at it in hindsight, it made sense. But when it happened, we were like, "What the fuck?" He beat The Rock and Stone Cold.
There you go. There you go.
Damn,
the two biggest baby faces in the company.
Once again, it's because of how great. It's because of how great the storyline was. The invasion storyline was a top 5 wrestling storyline ever. It was such a big storyline that you had to play like it was Chris Jericho getting his just due.
Yeah,
it was.
Actually, you know what? I can even go back even before we got to the World Championship, because of course there were some moments where Chris Jericho was looking like a world champion, and of course excluding, of course, beating Triple H. If we remember, it was near the tail end of 2000. Him and The Rock got into the promo, and then Jericho did the unthinkable. He literally did the to The Rock, and then said, "If you smell what Y2J is cooking," and then Jericho, and then The Rock, of course, would return the favor and said, "Yeah, I don't care. I'll be Uncle Jimmy Jack Jericho with the glass eye and all the other stuff, and you'll never, ever be the same." When you can go word for word with The Rock in a freaking promo, and
at that time,
especially like in 99 to 2001, I was like, you were making yourself right then and there.
But think about this. Think about what you just said. They tried that with different people, and it didn't work out. They tried it with Billy Gunn, which we got to It Doesn't Matter promo. It didn't work out for Billy Gunn. It didn't work out for Al Snow. It didn't work out for it didn't even work out for Triple H. And Triple H already, he was still in the picture because he was the top heel. But when
his name, it didn't work out for Booker T either. Say his name. Say his name.
I would not even put Booker T in that because he was destroyed once he tried to do that shit in WCW. Don't hate the player, hate the game, and he was doing the rock bomb calling the bookend. But that's another story, you know. Well, I will get to a promo with Booker T in it because you remember SummerSlam. It was him and Chris Jericho.
Another one.
Yeah, him and Chris Jericho, and they tore Stephanie down with those new titties she had and all that stuff, and Booker T's education, and he called him like 2 x 2. That's Thomas Jefferson, sucker, and that killed him right there. He lost his WCW title, which also gave Chris Jericho an edge because Rock had the WCW title. Chris Jericho's first title was the WCW title, and he beat The Rock. And came out with a new move called the Breakdown. because we was all worried about the.
But my point is, Booker T started the invasion storyline because remember it was a triple threat match. It was Benoit, it was Jericho, and it was Stone Cold. And Booker T interfered in that match, even though Stone Cold still won the match. And that's what started the whole invasion angle.
I thought I was gonna go a little further back. I would say once Shane beat Vince at WrestleMania, and then they was bringing some guys from they brought Stacey Keebler and all of them. They had that. Remember that episode of Raw where they had the second half of Raw turn to Monday Nitro.
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
There's definitely some foreshadowing going on.
Yeah, it was just like it was leading into it, and then that Master Garden show. That's when they kind of invaded. Booker T beat up Vince. Mike Awesome got the hardcore title and stuff like that. But since you brought up the invasion angle, that actually pushed Chris Jericho up to a higher mountain too, because now he's in the main event.
Actually, I could go a little bit before that because. We talked about the Rock promo, but here's a promo a lot of people forget about. Remember the time, right after I think it was Judgment Day or something like that, he comes out and he literally interrupts Austin and just after Austin did his heel turn, and he literally said Stone Cold became an even bigger slut than Stephanie, and I forget what city that they were in. I think it was San Jose, if I'm not mistaken. But that crowd friggin' popped because they were like, "What the fuck did he just?"
You know how I remember that?
Stone Cold. Yeah, and JR was even reacting about it too.
The reason why I remember that is because Triple H got karma that same year.
Oh yeah, that's when
his quadricep against Benoit and Jericho. I remember because
they became tag team champions. Him and Christian Wall was tag team champions, and then they had the first ever TLC match on SmackDown the very same week.
Yeah,
Chris Jericho.
So let me ask y'all this question real quick. I'm glad you brought it up, All Star. Let me ask y'all this question because this to me plays a big part in the Jericho story. Torn quadricep. Let's say if Triple H never got injured. We gotta talk about it. Let's say if he never got injured, would Jericho had that spot because Jericho was one of the major players during the invasion angle.
Okay.
He's one of the major players. But part of me, and as much as I hate to say this, a part of me believes that if the quadricep would have been torn by Triple H, Jericho would have been a major player in the invasion angle.
You gotta think of that two ways now. I can answer that because. Honestly, if let's say Triple H didn't tear his quad, they were scheduled to lose those tag team titles because Stone Cold was sick of holding two belts. That's one. But at the same time, if that didn't happen, that means Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit have been tag team champions for a minute. But all you gotta also remember this: Chris Benoit got injured too. So either way, Chris Jericho would have been a single wrestler, but with his role, with his role being more important,
be honest.
All right, I'll answer the question. I say yes, he would.
It's gonna be a no because we just was talking about Triple H has something against Chris Jericho, and Chris Jericho could get himself over. I mean, now this is the bad thing about WWF at that time. Anybody can get themselves over at the time they really want to get over.
Yep.
Okay,
that's
anybody. If you
everybody.
Charisma.
Hang on 1 second. Okay, so we are an hour in I think 16 minutes into the show, and hopefully you guys are enjoying the show. I am learning a lot. So we gotta pay bills. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys real quick. Hopefully you guys can hear me. All right. Go over here. All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Say it.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the hashtag Heels for Life. Oh shit. Oh, I'm sorry. Welcome to the hashtag Heels for Life Wrestling Podcast merch store. So we are selling merch. We will be getting some more merch pretty soon. So just take a look. We do have requested hoodies. Then we have that on sale for $34.99. We might kind of slash those those prices for you guys for the for the holiday season that's coming up or wherever. But we do have stickers. We do have tank tops for women and for males as well. We do have things for your neck, bless you. We do have cups, stickers, and so forth, so forth. So if you do want to check that out, just go to www.healsforlife.com for that. And back to the show.
So are we getting to his second run as Y2J? We came back?
Yes, we can go to the second one.
I actually want to take All-Star's question. Yeah, I want to take All-Star's question real quick first. Yes,
Okay,
Jericho
go ahead.
still would have been a big picture because you don't think they took that time to have him run down The Rock and then Stone Cold in a 6-month span and then have him pin Austin on Raw because I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go with another aspect. I don't think Austin jumps to the alliance. B, I think Triple H would have actually been the one who switched.
Exactly. So my point is, and that's exactly my point. My point is Triple H wouldn't have had laid down for Chris Jericho. He wouldn't have beat 2 people in one night. He would never have become undisputed champion if Triple H was still who Triple H was before the quad.
I'll start though. You know what? This is one thing I gotta respect Triple H for, because one thing other wrestlers like, oh, that was not me. This dude constantly tells us he stepped on people to get to the top, and don't hide from it. He knows it because you can't hide. We all got the receipts. We know this. He admits this, so I give him that. So for him to take that pin, he would think that was a downgrade at that time. I'm this, I'm that, I'm the former champion, I'm the game, I'm that damn good, blah, 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 blah. He's not going to do it. But Stone Cold, if it's right for business and gets people asses to those seats, I would take that pin and they would come see me beat his ass in pay-per-view and we get more money, blah, blah, blah. As long as it makes sense to you, it will. But some people in the business, it's a little
Triple H wasn't one of them, and that's my point.
Right.
Yeah. And that's why I said, like, in some parts of Triple H's career, he was trash because he was not going to put over Chris Jericho. But kudos to The Rock and Stone Cold because they made him undisputed champion.
Mm-hmm. Right. If y'all remember the story of that, when he heard that he's going to win the undisputed title, he overheard it.
I was shocked. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I think everybody thought Stone Cold or The Rock was going to win that belt. Honestly. But when you come out, and especially those that didn't see the show, I came to work all cheesing like, yo, this is about Chris Jericho. They didn't watch it until I told them. I'm like, yo, Chris Jericho won the belt. Get the hell out of here. They didn't believe it. Like people, people was legitimately shocked that Chris Jericho was the first undisputed champion. And
you know how I know this is only because Triple H was hurt though. Once again, because Triple H did it to him again and again. Like Triple H literally kept Chris Jericho down over and over again.
But Triple H was the one to defeat him to win the undisputed title next year at WrestleMania.
Like, that's what I'm saying. How are we not seeing this? Like Triple H.
Wait, watch this. But this will always haunt Triple H because Chris Jericho is the first. You are the second, and we don't remember the second like we remember the first. It's in the book. So it's going
especially because we ain't remember your matchup due to Rock versus Hogan.
Exactly. Hulk Hogan and Rock stole the show. We don't remember when you won the title. We don't remember the confetti hitting your face. We had to wait the Raw like, oh, that shit did happen. Holy shit.
That's because Triple H doesn't have a memorable WrestleMania main event. If we want to be real, that's another topic for another day.
He really does.
That's a whole different time. He got the worst.
That's a whole different topic for another day. And this is not me shitting on the guy in-ring career, but that's just being real. But the thing is that not only do people not remember him being the second undisputed champion, didn't he lose it a month later to Hogan? So he didn't even have a long reign with the undisputed title.
Yeah, it was only for a month.
Chris Jericho did. Chris Jericho's reign was more impactful because not only did he beat Stone Cold and The Rock in the same night, he went on the next 2 pay-per-views and beat them again.
In same competition.
Name
know what?
name anybody that's beaten The Rock in the Stone Cold twice, let alone twice in the span of months. You can't.
I'm about to say that's what this is why I'm gonna agree with All-Star in this. Dude was jealous.
Of anybody.
Jealous. You cannot say. I was at a garden show when Triple H was doing his turn as the World Heavyweight Champion. And this is when Chris Jericho came up with the concept of Money in the Bank for WrestleMania. He like honestly, you could see it. Me and my wife was in good seats. You could see the face where this man was jealous that his idea has actually made it to a WrestleMania match. And the legacy, Chris Jericho, is still going on. Money in the Bank is still in the company.
Although he never
but people would not know.
No, he never won.
Right.
But people would not know, maybe, unless you do your research. Nobody really would know that Chris Jericho never won the Money in the Bank.
Yeah, and that's the thing. My thing is, when you create something, do you really have to win it, or like that this is your honestly, Eric Bischoff helped create Elimination Chamber match. Don't mean he had to win it.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys are.
Here's my rebuttal. But here's my rebuttal to that. By you saying that, who was the first champion?
Wait, what's that?
Shawn
They helped create AEW. Shawn Michaels.
And who they put the belt on first?
Chris
Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels was the first Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, Elimination Chamber was Shawn Michaels.
But Chris Jericho is the first ever AEW champion.
He said AEW.
Yeah, he helped create that, and he put the belt in it. So it's kind of hard to.
I don't know. I get what you're saying, but I think the thing I read with Chris Jericho, it's all about legacy. To him, like he could win all the belts he wants, which he has. He can win all the belts he wants, but it's about legacy with him.
He never won the WCW heavyweight championship.
He did.
Well, he did.
Yes, he
that was
did.
his first winning title.
But
it was the WWE version.
Not when it was actually in WCW, but
yeah, I was about to say it was the E version. But I get what you're saying. But you put like this, any company he was in, he won gold, pretty much. Any company he was in, he won gold. So now he think about his legacy. Like, what I know my name gonna be remembered for my in-ring work, but what is gonna be remembered for the business in general?
And this is why we can't skip to necessarily his return in 2007, because we could skip Christian, because nobody cares about Christian. I don't know if you guys do, but
no, I hate
that.
So we can skip the whole Christian
Jericho
thing. But
like I said, if you want to know how over Jericho was, let's remember somebody. Well, let's go to the Elimination Chamber since I brought it up, because that was actually the catalyst for him getting ready to work with a little teacher versus student kind of matchup with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 19.
Another amazing feud, top 15.
Yep.
Top 15.
I'm sorry, but the first one was trash, but the second one, man, that blew me away.
I feel like the first one set up for the second one. The first one, Shawn Michaels had to go over.
That one was good, but
let's put like this.
The second one was just more violent.
I'm gonna say let's put like this. The first movie was the setup, and the second movie was the pretty much the climax of the story, and it was two different starts, but the matches was. I mean, it stole the show at WrestleMania. That's
what I'm saying. Because in the first movie, he was dressing like Shawn Michaels. Like he was still doing little things that was so hyper Chris Jericho. You were interested, and Shawn Michaels was still Shawn Michaels. So no, it wasn't a passing of the torch, so to speak, because Shawn Michaels has the Triple H type persona. He's not laying down for everybody, and that's still a thing.
And R-Star, watch this. The storyline stretched from Survivor Series all the way to WrestleMania. They didn't have a match. A one-on-one match into WrestleMania. They had to go through all the promos, the Royal Rumbles, all the run-ins.
The Royal Rumble was fire. The way they played the 1 and 2 at the Royal Rumble was fire too.
Yeah. So it was stretched out. They didn't touch each other in a match until WrestleMania. And you watched that match, you thought they had freaking 5 or 6 matches before then. That was their first one-on-one match.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go watch it now.
I'm sorry. And I don't know how y'all feel, but that match stole the fucking show at that WrestleMania.
Oh yeah.
Not that long, not that pedigree and crawl for 30 seconds to the pin of Triple H and Booker. We ain't gonna talk about that right now. Not Hulk Hogan against Vince McMahon, and definitely not Brock Lesnar damn near killing himself in the main event. Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho match told the story of a man that had been following your career and knows all your moves, all your counters, and all this stuff until an old man had to show the new dog some new tricks. And he won with a roll-up. Not a roll-up, was it schoolboy, I think it was?
It was like a
luchador schoolboy.
Underhook,
like
yeah.
Yeah. And it was great storytelling, that whole match. I love that match.
Next question connected right to this point. At the end of that match, he gave Shawn Michaels a low blow. So is Chris Jericho a top 5 heel?
Yes.
I would say yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Because, yeah.
Dude, some of his stuff that he does is like,
dude,
even though it may have been simple for like that time frame, Jericho did it with such a flair, no pun intended, that he just made it memorable.
I would say top 5 for this. This dude know how to play his audience.
Look what he's doing now.
Look what he's doing now. He know we like to sing Judas.
And then he'll like cut it
off in a minute. He'll cut that shit off in a minute. They had Judas started, and then he had the Lionheart music.
Is Judas bigger than break the walls down?
Something like that.
Yeah, I remember when he was. I'm glad y'all brought up the second part of the feud between him and Shawn Michaels. Ain't that during the time where Chris Jericho just got rid of just the Y2J persona, and then he started saying big words because he knew people hated big words. So every other sentence he had a big word in it and stuff like that.
And he started
it was
using
just
the code
super
breaker.
serious.
But he was like code breaker. He punched Shawn Michaels' wife, and so man, he was.
Bringing Shawn Michaels to Jericho, but
think about this. When he did that, right? When he smashed Shawn Michaels' face, which kind of made his cross-eye even more.
Is yet to come.
But he went from shiny bling bling suits to just a suit, talking very slow and methodical. If he would have changed his music, I think like that would have been like total kiss my ass right there. But he kept the music, and then like honestly, I think that character changed. Like, listen, this is what everybody loves. I gotta go opposite what everybody loves. Like, no more of this. I don't even think he had the countdown no more.
Nope.
I think the music just came straight on.
Chris was talking about how bloody the feud was. Like that unsanctioned match at Unforgiven, where they just had to stop the match, it's still one of the like best hardcore bloody matches of all time. Like,
and he got
ironically enough, he became the world champion at the end of the night.
Yeah, he got rewarded that night. So it's like Chris Jericho. I think Chris Jericho's second run was like, that's when I noticed this dude could change his character and make it better.
He became the best in the world at what he does.
And I'm gonna go to his third comeback when you said that, but I'm gonna wait for that one. But he I think his career got better when he came back. He was multiple-time world champion. Then he did the unthinkable.
Intercontinental record.
Set the Intercontinental record. He became tag team champions with his bitter rival Edge before Edge got hurt. And then he did the smart move. Instead of them stripping on the title, he went and got a damn giant to tag up with him. And they became the undisputed tag team champions. And possibly one of his most funniest runs, because that music combined music used to have me dying laughing. How you put Big Show music with Chris Jericho and kind of told Big Show, hey, I need you to clean up a little bit, straighten up.
Right.
You wear the suit.
There's actually another underrated part of Jericho's run. That, let's remember the whole thing with Mickey Rourke and how that led to Jericho facing another idol of his in Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
First of all, who knew Steamboat still had it like that? I mean, honestly, no one saw that coming. And then they had a one-on-one match at Backlash. I honestly, if Jericho wanted to like break character, I think he would been like a little ass kid. Because that's one of the wrestlers he watched when it's kind of title. That's one of his favorite titles. One of all of our favorite titles, to be honest with you. But
yeah,
but that also just showed how far Chris Jericho go, because Ricky Dragon had a back injury. He was really scared to come, wrestle, but Chris Jericho was safe with him, Had a good match, and he was safe with him.
I'm gonna say my first negative comment, and it comes at the 1 hour and a half mark, so that's cool. I don't like Jericho. Jericho was boring for me.
Hey,
it was
I'll
stupid.
start. Yeah, that negative comment could be. Yeah, we all can ride with you on that one. So
I just like how silly they try to combine the music, because that was the most funniest shit. It's the big show, and then they did the Jerry. I was like, what the? It was lazy fucking composing at its best. But
guess who they lost the tag titles to? DX.
That's it. Triple H again.
I just watched that show. I just watched that match. And I was like, they super kicked. Never mind. They lost. Pretty much almost his title reigns. You got to blame Triple H.
Yeah,
almost.
And
almost.
And the funny thing, and another thing, is like, I'm glad you brought up them losing the titles to DX. If you also remember, that also gave a little bit of revenge or reunion for Shawn Michaels and Mike Tyson.
That's true.
Wow.
Yeah, because remember Jericho wound up getting knocked out.
Yeah, but
which ironically enough will play an AEW thing a little way later.
But again, like R-Star said earlier, his connections. Because if it wasn't for Jericho, I don't think Mike Tyson would have came to AEW.
True.
That's true. So one thing everybody need to remember this about Jericho too. He's one of the coolest fucking dudes if you ever meet him. Now when I say that, don't piss him off. But when you ever meet him, that dude is like laid back as hell.
Yeah.
So let me ask y'all this question, right? So what we brought up before was that, we spent a good amount of time on the first part of his career, and the first part of his career is WCW run specifically. Yeah, we noted before, one of y'all noted that it was 3 years. The WWE part of his career is way longer than his WCW run. So people always used to ask me the question, do you consider Chris Jericho a WCW guy? And I'm like, no. I'm like, no. I was like, yeah, he was there in WCW, but his career was longer in WWE. Like, I never considered Rey Mysterio an ECW guy, even though he came from ECW, because he was only there for a cup of tea before he went to WCW. And I don't consider him a WCW guy either, because Rey Mysterio's WWE career was longer than his WCW career.
If you look at it, and also to tag along with said, think about it. Two-time U.S. champion, Raw 9-time IC champion, hardcore European WWE tag, world heavyweight, and that dude is like all in the, you know what I mean? And I'm not taking away what he's done before and later in the future, but that by itself shows that he's more of a WWF.
And the crazy thing about that is, and even he said it. He's a WWE guy. So, and the reason I said it, he said that in a New Japan interview. He said a WWE guy coming to Japan is, and remember, he had no contract in New Japan, so he was still considered a WWE guy. In fact, after that match in New Japan, he came back to WWE for the anniversary show.
He knew his relationships were bigger.
Right, and he still got Vince McMahon on speed dial on his phone. His career is based pretty much when you say his Hall of Fame career, which if he wanted to do Hall of Fame, he could come back and be the first ballot Hall of Fame. If most of his accomplishments happen in WWE, WWE, whatever you want to call it, like I think you just read his whole catalog right there. Like that's just WWE. It's probably 2 pages worth, 2-3 pages worth, and
something like that.
right. So even what he's doing right now, it's not going to touch what he did in WWE at all.
But here's how you know he was a legend in WWE, because we're at the pivotal point where Randy Orton kicks him in the head and he leaves the company. Randy Orton was only kicking legends in the head, so Chris Jericho had to have been a legend.
One plus
time spent for
Randy
Orton and kicking him in the head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, see, that was payback for that whole Cookie Monster promo that he cut his comeback saying, "Me want title match."
You know what? And the thing, and with that, he kicked him in the head. He came back, and that, remember, he didn't say a word for a couple months when he came back. He just came out smiling, running around the ring, and then go back.
I remember that.
Right, like jacket.
Right. So when he finally spoke, he ripped Miz. He ripped CM Punk. I forgot
especially Punk.
He ripped. He said Miz stole his gimmick from wearing suits and talking slow, and then he ripped CM Punk for saying he's the best in the world.
Yeah.
I forgot who else there's a lot of people that
R-Truth. Yeah, basically whoever was in that Elimination Chamber match.
Yeah.
Do you remember what he said about Punk though?
Yeah,
that he was a drunk.
His dad was a drunk. His sister was a
drug addict.
Straight ass persona. That's some deep shit. That's just like I'm just as bad as Samoa. Hey, Jeff Hardy, sit down, wait your turn like an AA meeting.
Yeah.
That was
true.
But you see, think about this woman. Now, watch this. You know that he asks, how far can he go?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Who, Joe?
No.
Oh no, Jericho.
Jericho. Yeah, because that's personal stuff to get to say and stuff. You know, that could, and we talk about Phil Brooks here, who we all know what happened here. So for him to say that personal line like that, to get their feud heating up, because remember, it started off slow. He supposed to have run the Royal Rumble. He didn't. He supposed to have won the Elimination Chamber match. So he worked his way to a one-on-one match for WrestleMania. Again, this is CM Punk, the WWE champion.
I'm not a CM Punk fan, so it doesn't matter who he is.
Jericho basically bitched him.
Oh, word. And then after that match, he hit him with a bottle of Jack Daniels over his head. Like it got,
I remember that.
It got heated. Like
he said, "I vowed to make you an alcoholic."
That's what he said.
He did a variety test in the middle of the ring.
See, y'all get into it. Y'all get into an interesting part in Chris Jericho's WWE career, because the next few years coming up after that is when he started doing his part to put people over. Now, the one time that, and it's not his fault. The one time he failed to help put somebody over, and it had potential to be big, was, yep, you already knew where I was going, Reese, was he put over Fandango at WrestleMania.
In his debut match, nonetheless.
Right.
Or Fandango's debut.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is that next night set the stage. That's where that hot crowd was in New Jersey, the Izod Center in New Jersey, where everybody was Fandangoing. And then it went viral. One of the first times something in WWE actually went viral on the internet. And that was kind of a missed opportunity. And I tell people to this day, I feel like it wasn't Chris Jericho's fault. I just felt like WWE didn't really know how to capitalize on it.
100%. This is 100% where the bad booking begun. And this is why this is why he was a part-timer for like 2014 and on. He was practically a part-timer, because what happened was he was just laying down for everybody. It doesn't matter if he feuded with Fandango, because he beat Fandango at the next pay-per-view. But then but then he still lost to CM Punk. So at the end of the day, he never was reaching that like brass ring again. There was a glass ceiling that was there. Yeah. He understood that. So he decided he would part-time it, and that's what we ended up getting from Jericho.
Before I can even go back before that, Tom, I do got to give. You did leave one pop out of Chris Jericho's, because we talked about. Yeah, because
I'm ahead of you.
Yeah, nobody Yeah, like I remember everybody watching. I didn't see. You know how usually when there's a return coming, there's at least one or two people to sign up or something. That was one of the rare times I saw nobody with the sign or anything, and they were like, "What the Jericho?"
That happened in Arizona
like crazy. Yep,
That jacket was fire.
Yeah, that happened in Arizona, and the thing was, Chris Jericho was one of those wrestlers, especially in WWE, that actually used social media to his advantage, because he told everybody that he was somewhere in New York or something, and everybody believed him because he kind of did have a Fozzy show in New York. So when they heard, remember, Dolph Ziggler was number one, the person that last beat him before he left. And when they heard that music, and that pop was crazy. And this is what I'm saying. Chris Jericho know how to fucking play with his audience, especially his fans. Like, they wanted to come back so damn bad, and he came out and they had almost won the goddamn Royal Rumble. Almost won that Royal Rumble.
Well, that's because the man is the master, and it's been said thousands of times, millions of times. Is going to be continue to be said throughout the rest of his career. The man is the king, the emperor, the dictator, whatever you want to call him, of reinventing himself.
I still believe that his second return, other than bad booking, I don't believe the bad booking was caused by like Triple H or anything like that. I believe the bad booking was because he was with Fozzy. I remember he was touring, he was like, and different things like that. And when you're not consistent with a company like that, especially at that time, they're not trying to put you over, so to speak. So like he was really at his like pinnacle with WWE. I don't think he really realized it yet, because he was still a rock star, a metal band star, whatever you call him.
Yeah,
but
he was
rock star,
a huge rock star.
His last run, though.
So I have a question for the panel, real quick.
Okay.
Jericho had 4 WWE, all right, 4 of them.
Yep.
Out of the 4,
What was his best one?
Yeah, his best out of the 4 returns. What was his best? I'm sorry, Chris. Out of the 4.
Oh, you can count now? Oh. I mean,
you 4.
No. I was saying, like,
I was gonna say I was like, we talk about his second run, but one of his best runs was his last run.
Thank you. Kevin Owens is a god. Kevin Owens is a god.
I was waiting to get to that.
Him and Kevin Owens was comedy
gold, and it's like KO and Jericho.
Right, let's keep it real. It was not supposed to happen. Like when they did the brand split, and I think they first time team was in SummerSlam with Enzo and Big Cass. After that, I don't think it was supposed to go. But I think when Finn got hurt and the Universal title, and for some reason, once Kevin Owens got it, Chris got attached to him. And he started making silly catchphrases. This is broad time, like, you stupid idiot, or the list of Jericho. And this shit got over. Like the stupid shit, the scarf, him and
yes.
Drink it in, man. Drink it in, man. All this stuff. And he got the list in his hand, he got the pen, and he about to say something, and he hold it just to hear the fans' reaction, and he's the heel. And not only that,
he was over. And one of my favorite things about the list of Jericho is, like, you brought up all his catchphrases. You forgot one. You're gonna get it. And
he had the pen. He had the pen, and he just paused.
Yeah,
and he just clicked it. And not to mention, he made fun of that damn announcer, like
Tom Phillips. I was gonna bring that up.
Mike Room is like, hey, you're Mike or you're Tom? Are you Tom or are you Mike?
Right.
We didn't mention earlier the fact that Kevin Owens too has one of the best debuts in WWE history.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
one of the best.
Go up beating John Cena in your debut.
He was the first person to wrestle a takeover and then pop up on Raw the next day and take out the face of the company.
I was about to say, because I'm thinking that you talking about the main roster. I was about to think.
No, main roster debut, bro.
Okay.
Main roster. Okay. Raw debut.
I like it. I like it because it's supposed to not happen.
Exactly.
That's why I like it. It was not supposed to happen at all. It was supposed to be Sammy Sami Zayn kept on going at the United States title. He got hurt. Kevin came out.
Oh yeah, Y2AJ. We're a little bit ahead of that one, DJ.
Yeah, not like he came in and just talked shit to John Cena. He stomped on the United States title after he popped up powerbomb John Cena.
Yeah.
Super Cena, the face. Yep. Okay.
The face
we talked about Chris Jericho when he interrupted The Rock. This is in the same caliber that he interrupted John Cena at his pinnacle. This man was making the United States title mean something again at the same time.
That's my point.
And he came in, popped up powerbomb John Cena, stepped on the belt, and raised up the NXT title. Like this is the main belt. This is the prize that y'all need to worry about, not this shit.
One of the best debuts of all time.
I'm gonna agree with that.
So
Derek just brought up a real good point here. Man, Y2AJ and the teaming and feuding that happened in the early part of when AJ Styles came to WWE, and that was great on Chris's part to want to work with him first because.
How about this? Let's thank Chris Jericho for AJ Styles to use the Style Clash.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because they didn't want him to use the Style Clash because they saw the videos of him injuring like 3 or 4 people. But Chris Jericho said, maybe you motherfuckers don't bend your head forward and put your head back. He won't injure nobody.
You notice nobody else has got injured in about how many years?
Only one person got injured, but that's his fault. Was No Chin.
Ellsworth. Yeah.
Ellsworth. That was his fault. He admitted that was his fault.
Fun fact: there was 59 people who made the list. To make the list was Mick Foley, September of 2019, right? Person. No, September 19th. Sorry. To make the list was Kevin Owens.
Who was the last person?
Mick Foley got 3 personalities, so you know. 3, right? You're 3, right? Yeah.
You mean 3?
It's 3. No, it's 3. It's including Mick Foley. Now, if you took your glasses off, you would see it's 3, not 2.
But
I'm sorry,
anywho,
because my boy.
Moving on.
Right now. My boy is 1.
It's 2-2. It's 2-2.
It's still.
I'm gonna pull.
How many hands do I have? Take my glasses off.
Messed up. You did.
Oh god.
Yo, I do want to say this though, man. It's like, this discussion that we're having, and what I loved about is that when it was first brought to our attention, and we were discussing this stuff, it brought a smile to my face to see how many people was like, yo, I want to get in on this because, we know how legendary Chris Jericho is. And you see right now, we're almost at the 2-hour mark. And it's just because his career is so vast, it's so decorated, it's hard to get to everything. It really is, because this man's career is
legendary.
It's legendary. It's iconic. It's everything a professional wrestler will want to have for a career.
You think about all the gyms we didn't even touch on.
Oh no, we have to say this.
Got Goldberg's feud that finally happened 5 years after.
Man, we have to say this because we praise Kevin Owens and we love Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. Let's be honest though, it was the worst ending to a feud in feud history. It was the worst match of the greatest 2 wrestlers to ever wrestle a match ever in history of wrestling. That WrestleMania match was trash.
Bro, it was. I like the beginning of it. I like the beginning of it because when he picked up, first of all, it was silly as hell. One of the most silliest segments in Raw. But when he picked up that binder, it said list of KO. And Chris Jericho's like, why my name on the list? And he beat the shit out of Chris Jericho. You didn't see that coming yet. I mean, you probably felt it, but you didn't see it coming. And then, now what was the story was, it was penciled in that Chris Jericho was supposed to face Kevin Owens for the Universal title.
Yeah.
But since Goldberg and Brock Lesnar had that, 2-minute match in Survivor Series, and they got like a lot of views on social media, they pushed it for that. But they pushed it for Goldberg to be Universal title champion and had Chris Jericho defend his U.S. title. The match was booked in the wrong place.
Trash.
Yeah.
It was booked in the wrong place. It should not. I think was it the second or third match of WrestleMania?
Second.
Yeah, I was at the WrestleMania. It was because it was in Orlando, right?
Yeah, because it was after Shane and AJ.
Yep, I was at that WrestleMania, and yeah, a lot of us there was not feeling it. And by the way, the fucking pyro, we were sitting there behind the pyro. The pyro was fucking loud already when you're sitting across from the arena, but when you're sitting directly behind that shit, man, I'm surprised I still have hearing in my ear. But besides the point,
although I like that supersized listing.
You should have sued. You said I can't hear out my right ear. WWE, you need to pay me.
Bro, like literally, you know how the stage was set up and stuff like that, because that's where they did like the little roller coaster theme and stuff. Yeah. So I was sitting on the left hand. So let's say the stage is directly in front of you, right? Me and my friends were sitting on the left hand side of the stage, and like where people like let's say a wrestler walked behind you, they can we were right there. Like a wrestler would literally be able to walk behind us, but the pyro was so loud and stuff. But yeah, like a lot of us that was there, they weren't feeling that match. I will say that was kind of a disappointing thing, but it's a rare miss. It's a rare miss in an already legendary career for Chris Jericho. It's just a rare miss, and it wasn't his fault.
Wait a minute, are we agreeing with Vince McMahon?
Yeah.
Yes. In an indirect way.
Holy shit! It's been a long time since we all agree with him. So I was just curious. But I mean the match. What y'all think about this one when they had AJ Styles added onto that match? With Chris Jericho, remember the little botch ending they had with Kevin Owens and AJ Styles, with Kevin Owens won United States title back, and they added Chris Jericho in the mix.
Well, Styles won that match, right?
Yeah, he won the.
Boring. I don't like it. It's not. It's not the feud.
I mean, but I think that was the last thing Chris Jericho did on either SmackDown or Raw. He actually put over AJ Styles to win the United States title.
Yeah, then he got rolled off again to go do a Fozzy tour, and then came back again.
No, I got a story about that because it was down here. It was in Norfolk, and Fozzy was playing across the street. So all they did was ask him to come across the street and do the match.
So
and he went right back across the street.
I just want to break in. Cowboys lost against the Eagles.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, that means I get to talk shit now.
My Giants won today with 5-1.
Yep.
Yes, they are. High five.
Hey, Cowboys lost. Hey, it's a beautiful day.
Good. So I hate
it's a happy day for all. Happy day for all.
Do you know we've only
day to be a New Yorker.
We've only gotten up to 2017. We've only gotten up to right before he left to go to New Japan.
Oh,
and
man.
We're almost at the 2-hour mark. That is insane.
So, to be honest, though, I think that's the best. I think to me, I think that's kind of good in a way, because now when we do, because I'm pretty sure, Chris, you're gonna do a part 2 of this, right?
Yeah.
I'll do a part 2 like
New
later.
Japan and AEW pretty much.
Yeah. The way that whole thing started, that's a show all by itself.
Mm-hmm.
That got the wrestling world talking. That got everybody talking.
So yeah, what we'll do is we'll do that later down the line, whatever. So we'll do when we come back. So we'll do New Japan and AEW because that's another possibly 2-hour show. So everyone, right after this we'll have one more episode left. Before we get to 200. So once again, everybody, thank you guys so much for listening to this special edition of Kills for Life, episode 198. Next week, it will be me, T.O. versus Suzette and Janelle. I was thinking about I was thinking about adding a third person. I was thinking about doing that, but I don't know.
We need a person for the game.
Okay, so All Star, you said that you wanted to participate, correct?
I did.
Okay.
I did say that.
So how about you come on, because I don't know if Ziggy's going to be available. So or what we can do is we could probably have like two moderators or just one. We'll see. We'll see what
Listen,
happens.
I can moderate
Now,
too.
now are y'all going to be debating?
We're gonna do like a trivia. First, we're gonna do an interview with Suzette. Interview with Suzette, and I can't think of
Janelle.
Janelle. So the plan is
Shouts out to HR. Shouts out to Janelle from the HR. Just had to put that out there real quick. Dropping tears. Shout out to y'all folks over there.
Good luck with Janelle.
So we're going.
She's on fire.
Sit there and do an interview. Gonna do an interview, get to know them, get their views, opinions, especially as to knowledge of the industry. We love to pick their brain, and then we're going to do the sexes between us and them.
Yep.
So
we're going to talk about women.
So please let me be Alex Trebek. You could give me the questions. Let me be the Alex Trebek.
You come up with the questions, sir.
Oh, that's even better. Let me do that. I would love
no,
to.
No. You know what? Instead of doing trivia, how about you just ask us like some random questions, controversial questions, you know what I'm saying? Like kind of spice up the mood. So that will be your
Well, I think I can ask wrestling related controversial questions.
Yes. Relate.
No
yes. So that way that will that'll spice up the
What
podcast.
year did Macho Man become addicted to cocaine?
Not that kind.
Good Lord.
Oh, that's too far. Oh, okay.
What year did Macho Man allegedly have sex with Stephanie?
Whoa.
that ain't what he's talking about. He's meaning more like when he's thinking controversial questions, he's thinking like, why did it take so long for Vince to pick a black WWF champion, something like that, or WWE champion, something like that?
That part, like questions like that.
How naked was Lita? How naked was Lita underneath those covers with Edge?
Oh, we all saw how the nigga she was.
But yeah, y'all. So remember to follow #HitsForLife and also go to our merch store. And also, if you want to donate to the podcast, just go to the Cash App and just go to Mr. Team Bring It at the Cash App store. But yeah, until that time, everybody, you guys did great. Thank you guys so much. It was really, really informative this evening. But yeah, until that time, we might go on Twitter for a little bit for the cookout. But yeah, we'll see you guys next weekend and have a wonderful night.
Yankees!
Bye, y'all.